All right, so cloth diapers. Initially, it's a pretty big investment, but once you've got most of it, it's pretty easy and not that big a deal. So you'll need your pattern printed up. This is the Arfys one size longer wing square tab, something. I don't remember. I printed this. My daughter's 6. Started cloth diapering her at 10 months. So about 5 years ago I printed this. And you'll see these are your snaps. I see it through the sun. You can see I poked holes so that I can mark it on my pole. Also the elastics. I did have the back elastics marked, but I don't cut this. I'll show you what I do there. I actually cut a little extra so that I can fold it down for the elastics. So now I'm going to cut. Bear with me. So I just got this pole, and how I do this is I line it up. I freaking love it. But as you can see, I leave extra room because I need extra so that I can fold it down to make the back elastics. And then I just grab my random pin and fabric clip jars to hold it down. And I take my rotary cutters. I usually use the big one because it makes it go a little easier. And I cut. And I'll show you that. So I went ahead and marked my diapers. That's for elastics, and you can see the little dots. Sometimes I use this for my snaps, but since they're gonna be completely covered, I actually usually use permanent marker so you can see it better. Same with the wings. So then you do the same thing with whatever lining you're gonna use. Micro fleece. I use Athletic Wicking Jersey, and I went ahead and already had one cut out. So what it looks like. And next, sorry, got distracted by my nail. You cut out your backing for your snaps. So I just took one of the scrap pieces and I'm just gonna cut it up and make little squares, and then I'll show y'all how I snap it. So when you attach snaps, you need to stabilize them. So I get these scrap pull, make them into about 1-inch squares, roughly. They don't have to be perfect, and then you just use this tool. I'm trying to get it so where you can see it. I think it's called an owlet, I don't know. It's the poker. So you use that to poke where you marked your snaps on your diaper, and then you have this to back them so it stabilizes them so that they don't end up tearing the pull. Gives it more protection and helps it not leak. When you do this, some people just cut out a whole another top section. I think that's a waste of pull personally, but that's just me. Now when you do it, and I'm not actually snapping right now, you have your caps, and then you have your sockets, which are the female, so it's got a little indentation, and your studs, which goes out like a boy part. So you'll take one of your caps, and you want, because this is not going to be seen on the inside of the diaper. So you want that on the outside. You always want your fabric going the same direction. So you wouldn't want to see this when you're snapping it. You want it to be like that. You would put it through, as an example. Having a hard time. I don't think I poked these well enough. So you get it through. You can kind of see it. Yeah, right there. And then you would get your socket or stud, whatever you're needing. And then you use your cam pliers. And you would put it in, clamp it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that time-lapse wise and let y'all see. So I've got all my sockets ready to go, my studs, my caps ready with the pull. So now I'm going to attach them. So now it's all snapped. Got my ones for my hips. I've got my rise snaps. I think the hardest part is picking what snaps to use, but I think that these colors complement it well. Sorry. Oh, nose itches. And so that's what the back ends up looking like. Don't do the wings until you are completely done with the diaper. So next, the fun part, which my best friend absolutely and utterly hated, was pinning, the lining to the diaper. So you want wrong sides together. With Athletic Wicking Jersey, it doesn't really matter. There's a pattern side and there's a smooth side. I personally like to have the smooth side against the baby's bottom, so that's me, but it doesn't really matter. I've done both. So you just put, let me turn this down, put them down on one another, you line it up. Okay, this is a bit wrinkled, it's been sitting in a box for a while, but you line it up and then you pin it. So now I'm going to pin it. So now I'm actually gonna sew up the diaper, and let me see if I can, okay, apparently I can't rotate my screen, but this is my sewing machine. I've had it for 5 years, a little over 5 years, something like that. Nothing real fancy about it. It does the job. I have my Gutterman 100% polyester thread. I have, here, let me turn the light on so maybe you can see it better. Probably not though. My ballpoint needle, which helps when you're sewing so that the holes aren't too big in your pull and you don't end up with leaking. Oh, I forgot to show. This is my cheat. Probably can't read it because it's backwards, but this tells me, because it's been so long since I've sewn, and the last time I sewed, I was sewing up newborn diapers. I couldn't remember what settings I did things on. So I'm gonna sew this. I don't know if y'all noticed when I was pinning, but I always start in the corners and work my way around because it kind of helps. So when I sew, I actually I sew with my Athletic Wicking Jersey up, pull down, and I start, so if I'm looking at it, I start right here, and then I'll sew all the way around to this side. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll show you what I do from there. So I just finished, and you can see sewn all the way around. So now I take my fabric scissors and I just trim the excess string off, or you don't, the thread, sorry, not string, brain fart. And then I'm gonna turn it and top stitch it. But as you can see, this is gonna make it a little bulky. So I actually trim those a bit. So I'm gonna do that on all of them. And then I'll be back. Okay, so I trimmed all of those. Now I'm gonna turn it where the right side is out. And then just use my fingers to gently kind of push the sides out. You don't have to do it all the way. I usually have a tool, which I'll show you, that I use to help get those edges real nice and crisp. So almost done. It's a process, but I love it. I've definitely missed it. So as you can see, they're not pushed all the way out. So I actually have this. This is essential to threading elastics, but I use this very gently, and I just take it, put it inside, and gently just work the fabric out to where I get a nice, clean corner. So that's my corners versus that. So I'm gonna finish doing those, and then I'm going to top stitch. So when it comes to the top stitch, everyone does it differently. I've done it before where I've top stitched around the entire diaper and then did the elastics, but I found that just made for a little bit of bulk around the legs, so I stopped doing it. So I will show you how I do this. Basically, I'm gonna top stitch in 1, 2, 3 different sections. And I've got this one last corner, so might as well do that. Okay, so I've got all my corners out. So I'm gonna start right here on this one. So I will sew all the way around and stop at that first elastic mark. So that'll be the first one, okay? And then I will skip the elastic, and I will sew from here the next elastic all the way around to this elastic mark. Then I'll skip the elastic stretch and sew from this last top elastic all the way around. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I messed up. I should have folded these down and sewn them before I turned them, but I forgot. So I'm gonna fold my back elastics down. Now those I will actually go ahead and sew. So I'm just gonna sew a line all the way across, and I'll show you that once I'm done, and then we'll run some elastics and yeah, go from there. sewn, top stitched. I did forget to mention, I don't top stitch the elastics, but I do the casing, which you can see. So that's where the elastic will go through. I'm going to show you how, I'm turning my cutting mat, sorry, how you size that. So you can use either 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch. You do need braided elastic. It's really just up to you. I got this from Joann's. Personally, I don't really like the way it feels, so I don't know that I'm going to use it. Yeah, I'm probably going to use this one. I ordered this off of Amazon. This is 3/8 inch. Sorry, pardon the noise, but it's braided. Where's the end? So, I see the end, but I can't get it out. There it is. Okay. So, here's your elastic. And here's how you size it. Okay. So you look at your elastic marks where they start and stop, and you're going to do a little bit over, follow it, don't stretch. Just want to lay it loosely, and then a little over, and you're going to cut that. And then this actually gets you your perfect amount for 2, because when you have your elastics, it needs to be half the amount so that it sits nicely. So these are for your legs, and we'll do the same for the back. So you just lay it. Here's where my, turn it this way so you can see better. Here's where mine starts, so I'm gonna go a little over because you want a little extra, and then I just pull it. Here's where mine ends, so I'm doing a little over because you do want a little bit of a tail to be able to sew onto, and then you cut it in half. Sorry, apparently this is ending up a lot off camera. So you cut it in half, and that will get you your back elastics. So now the fun part. This really is the not fun part. Feeding elastics can be a pain in the butt. So I highly recommend this. Some people can do it with a safety pin or a bobby pin. I've never been successful with it. So also, I mentioned that I pin. I do have fabric clips. I don't like them. I almost never use them because I don't feel like I can get up to the sewing needle as much. I feel like this just gets me a closer sew, if that makes sense. It's been a while since I've made a diaper, so I'm a bit rusty and I'm trying to remember my steps, and I've never actually had to explain it on camera. So how this works is you take your elastics. So these are the backs. We're going to do those last. We're going to do the legs first, because if you're trying to shove your hand in, the back elastic's already done, it's really difficult. So I'm going to take the nice end, fold it in half, feed it through that little hole, and then I'm actually going to straighten it. Okay, give myself a little bit of a tail, and then I'm going to feed this side through. Now, everyone does theirs differently. I come in, and basically I feed from the bottom up, and I pull it out. So I've got it in. You can see my little poke right there, and I'm turning it into the casing that I sewed, and then pulling it through. You don't want to pull it all the way through, because then you're going to have to feed it again. So I'm feeling, which you can actually see it better right here, possibly. Yeah, that's my elastic right there. So I am feeding it through. This is not really a good way to explain or let you see, other than, sorry, not a good way to see it. You just gotta explain it. So I'm pulling through, but like I said, I want a tail. So I don't know if y'all can see that little outline. That's the end of my casing. That's the elastic. I want a pin right there because I want to sew it and I don't want it to come out when I'm trying to pull the other side. Now, as you can see, possibly, let me turn towards the light. Okay. Ooh. First time I've ever tried recording this, bear with me. So you can see my elastic casing ends right there and my pin is above it because I want to be within my seam allowance. So I pin there and then I've got my rod, and it's important to try and keep your elastic straight, otherwise it gets bunched in the legs. So I just gently pull. Gently, and then I feed it. So I'm almost out of the casing, but if you do it too hard, it'll pop off of this end and you'll have to redo the whole thing, and it's a pain. So I'm almost out. Ta-da! And now I have my tail on this end, and I'll pin it, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side elastic and the back elastics, and I'll be right back. So I've got all of my elastics pinned, and you can see how you know that your elastics are good is when you pull, it doubles in length. That's what you want, is it to double in length when it's stretched. So yeah. So I am going on each of my elastics. I left the tail so that I actually sew over it, and I'm going to sew from the top stitch to the end of the casing. I'm going to go forward, backward, forward, and then back a couple to make sure that it's really secured, because these get a lot of wear. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll be right back. So last but not least, you got all your elastics, you got your lining elastic, you got your front snaps and your rises, which I really am loving this color combo. I don't think that the lighting in my room does it justice, but knowing my son, he's on the first rise and this beautiful green won't show, so that's actually what I'm gonna do for the wings, is the green. And that is the very last thing before washing, is to do your wings. So you don't have to stabilize these with an extra piece of pull because you've got the pull and the wicking jersey, so it acts as a stabilizer. But you do need to pay attention to socket studs, what you've got matching up, because when you fold it over, you want to make sure you've got the right pieces connecting. So I need 2 with the studs on the top, and then 1 with a socket. So I'm just going to show y'all that. I'll show y'all how to do one real quick. I already poked the holes, so I just push that through. I get my socket. Since I didn't do a slow-mo of this, I put it on, and then you can see there's like a little indentation here, so you seat it in there and then you push down and press real good, because if you don't have it seated right, this little piece right here, which is the spike, it'll end up crooked and then your snap won't work. So just so you can see, if you don't hear a snap, it ain't done right. Ta-da! So I'm gonna do the other snaps and then I'll show you my finished diaper. So I figured I would show you what happens when you're not paying attention. I messed up. I didn't put my socket on, so I have to take this one out. So on your cam snaps, this piece, it comes off. and that's the breaky part. But you gotta be careful because you don't want to damage your pull. It's a pain in the butt, and I'm almost gonna cry. But you basically, you're gonna take it and put it sideways in it, and you're just gonna try and break that bond. So I'm gonna do that and fix it, and then I'll be back. All right, guys and gals, whatever, y'all, I'm all done. I got my snaps on. So now the moment of truth to see if they all snap. So I'm just gonna, oh, I love that sound. Obviously it doesn't have an insert in it, but just so you can see the finished product. There it is. My one size diaper. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped.